Welcome back to the Shoeless Shows podcast, University podcast heard around the world. It's Isaiah, and I'm here with Mike
Yo.
and Obi.
Hey, guys.
And it seems that we're stuck in purgatory here in the sports world in between football, which we can see is still going on. However, the Steelers and the Ravens game being pushed back and the entrance of COVID into the sports world has been hurting the sport somewhat. And the NBA season is quickly approaching this coming December and the late December. So while we're stuck in between, we've got our predictions for the rest of the NFL season and what we hope for our New York Knicks this coming NBA season. And for that, I'll throw it to Knick flag owner, Michael Charles.
Yeah, so I know you guys have been wondering why you haven't heard about the Knicks on this podcast for a while, as it's our main, one of the main staples of the show. But we've been saving it to get a lot of content out at once. We've waited a long time for this all season, and wow, he's wearing a Lakers shirt, unbelievable. Can't own a Knicks flag wearing a Lakers shirt. But the all season was long awaited, and every offseason, a team expects to make big overhauls and big changes and be the next team up. That's Isaiah's fancy new phone charger. But the Knicks, obviously, we had big expectations, but none of those really came to fruition because the reality is that there was not that big move to be made. There were big moves to be made, but they would have been stupid moves, and we would have been upset, and Obi would have clowned us. So I'm glad that those moves were not made. Russell Westbrook thing, me and Isaiah could have lived with the Chris Paul move depending on the price, but he found a home in Phoenix, and I think both sides benefited there. The Fred VanVleet thing never came to fruition just because there was never really doubt that he was leaving Toronto. And then the only other big name that the Knicks were really tied to was Gordon Hayward for about 3 hours one Saturday of free agency. So that, and luckily he took all of Michael Jordan's money, so it's not us paying him. But apart from that, I think while it was a quiet offseason, the Knicks and the Knicks fan base are happy for the most part, just because it showed a level of competence and normalcy that the Knicks have not seen before. I think we can all agree after last year when Obi correctly predicted KD and Kyrie to Brooklyn, the Knicks had no pivot. They kind of just paid the next couple of guys on the list and went into the season and said, let's hope our basketball expert, David Fizdale, can figure it out. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how that one all turned out, as Fizdale's now working for ESPN. So this year, with the new front office, all we heard for months is, the Knicks have a new front office. Let's see what they do. They have a new coach. And nothing flashy happened, but they did stuff that the Knicks would never do before. They ended up trading the 27th pick and the 38th pick in the draft for the 25th and 33rd pick in the draft without moving any other assets, which was kind of cool to see a maneuver like that done by the Knicks. They turned Ed Davis into 3 second-round picks so far. They made a sign and trade for Austin Rivers that allowed them to keep their cap, but also got a great deal of 3 years, $10 million for a player who can easily be flipped at the deadline. They bring in Alec Burks, who is another player that they can flip at the deadline, a good pull-up shooter, good shot creator. And then they bring in Nerlens Noel, who is a good rim protector, was always a positive net rating for OKC. And it's something that a player that can mimic Mitchell Robinson when he goes to the bench. So having that consistency of play with a rim protector. Nothing flashy from the Knicks, but it's exciting to see going into a year where it looks like the front office has it all figured out and has a plan and has structure. Can that be said about the team that's going to be on the court? We'll see what Thibodeau can do, but right now the only glaring hole in this offseason right now is what's going to happen with the point guard situation and how long is Julius Randle actually here.
Yeah, for sure. They did the best they could, like you said, missing out on those big names. But obviously they weren't going to give Gordon Hayward the kind of money. Not these Knicks that we see now. We're going to give Gordon Hayward the kind of money that he got from Michael Jordan and the Hornets. And of course we got nervous at first in the guard situation, having Ntilikina and then bringing back Elfrid Payton with a lack of shooting at the guard position. But I think Austin Rivers definitely helps that with the team being a veteran in his own right. I think that really does help the team. And I think the most important part of this whole season is watching how the young core fits together. Watching how an Obi Toppin fits back into a team with a Mitchell Robinson, who we've already seen proven, and Kevin Knox, who Mike has lost some faith in, but I continue to believe in, from the simple fact that he has all the potential in the world. And like you were saying, like if we had gotten a Chris Paul trade, I'm sure OKC would have asked for a player like that. And on that fact alone, that OKC would have wanted him, I want to keep him because I know that he can do good things, put in a good position. And his offensive talent is through the roof.
And the thing that I just looking at this Knicks roster, and
Baby
it's kind
Giannis.
of Obi's not gonna like that one. But I mean, looking at this roster and like you think about what really transpired with the draft picks over the last couple of years, and like obviously like production, and people want to see production, people want to see results when you draft players in the lottery. But I mean, like you look at what they did to Frank, and like they drafted Frank, they fired the people who drafted him 2 days later, and then started like what Trey Burke, Jared Jack, Ramon Sessions, like over the years, all these point guards over him, and like we knew he was a project. And then same thing with Knox last year, where like they gave him the ball in his hands all the time his first year, and then the second year his usage is down, his minutes are down, and you can see his confidence go down. And it's kind of just like you're drafting players as projects, and then you had like at this point we know now based on how they focus on development this offseason that they had no development staff at all, period. So how can you draft projects and then expect them to figure it out and then get mad when they don't? And I mean, it's not like Tibbs is coming in as this development guy himself, but they have the staff around him, and hopefully they have the mentality of like we're going to play the young guys, because it's kind of a waste because that's what they were supposed to do last year. Like we're supposed to see what these guys have last year, and now it's carrying into this year, and it makes it harder because you have to evaluate a new class of young players that you're bringing in. Like you have to, especially with the draft, like a big draft coming up next year, like you have to know what you have, what you don't have. And like I mean, I hope that they're going to put the ball in the hands of the young players to really see what they have and try to unlock their game so we can know what we have going into next offseason. But at the same time, Tibbs wants to win now. And I can just see him in a game, like Knox misses an assignment or he misses a backdoor cut defensively. He just pulls him. Like that's the kind of coach he is. And I don't know if I'm just scared to see how that unfolds. But with that being said, like going into the season, what do you think the starting five and the bench five should be to make this team fun to watch, but also to learn the most about our team and develop the young guys?
That's a good question. I think definitely Mitch should be starting. Um, I think you draft Obi with the fifth overall pick, you got to start him. Um, I think Alec Burke, just being one of the better players on the team, gets the start. I think Austin Rivers has to get the start at point guard because none of the other ones can shoot. And then you throw RJ out there, who didn't get any rookie, get any like all NBA rookie nominations like this year, with something to prove and being one of your better players, with a top 3 pick. So I think that's the lineup you got to put out there. But I think rotation wise, you have to throw Knox out there, and you have to keep the young guys going in. You have to keep Frank in there, because if you just hold those guys on the bench, regardless of if you want to win now or not, you're never going to get the production out of those players without allowing them to grow.
And I mean, I think like I agree, and I think it's very interesting the way that a lot of these young pieces complement each other. So obviously, I think the front court should be kind of be solidified with Mitch and Obi. But I mean, I think like from there you can go a variety of different ways. Like some people feel that RJ is a 3 and should be played more at the 3, where you can conceivably play Frank at the 2 or Birch at the 2, and whoever you want from the remaining people at the 1. I mean, I would kind of go with a lineup of Frank, Burks, RJ, Obi, and Mitch, because then you have decent defenders around him. You have floor spacing. But Frank playing next to RJ is helpful because like a lot of people don't see Frank as a full-time on ball. There's more of like a secondary creator. So if that's the case, and you have RJ who's also a secondary creator, but has the upside to be a on ball more often. Like having that balance together could be very good for your team and for the spacing and everything. And then I agree. Like I think that you have to find out what Knox is this year, and like that's why having Randall makes it everything so much more complicated. Because I mean, I think a lot of people feel that Knox's ideal position is the four, just because sometimes when he's guarding threes, he's like laterally he's not quick enough, or he just looks like clumsy sometimes when he's on the wing. So playing him at the four with Randall there is kind of makes things a little crowded. I mean, obviously Noel is the backup five, that's a given. But then like I mean, you're hearing repeatedly that the Knicks want to give DSJ a chance, and I feel like I mean, I rather watch DSJ fail than watch Elfrid Payton do whatever Elfrid Payton does. But I don't want to see I don't want to see either of them. Realistically speaking, like I rather see like I know quickly. A lot of people think of quickly more as a combo guard, more of a two, even though he's 6'3". But maybe like what's the hurt in seeing what he can do running the point? Maybe that's the point of like because people see it all the time. Like when you go to Kentucky, like there's parts of your games that people just don't get to see because you're playing in a role.
Right.
So that could be a thing. I mean, Miles Powell, they signed him to like an actual roster spot. So maybe he's probably more of a microwave scorer, and his playmaking has never been like his strong suit. But maybe running him out there, like they have options, and I think that the key is to make sure that you're creating lineups where the people you want to focus are benefited most. Like Obi and Mitch are a great fit because they can both space the floor vertically, but Obi can also step out and shoot the three, and it creates so much space. So I think an emphasis on shooting, and especially with Obi, defense is going to be a big thing. But I mean, me and Isaiah are kind of just dominating this conversation right now as a Knicks fans, but I want to see what Obi thinks from the outside looking in. Like, what have you thought of the moves that they made? What do you think about the path that they're on? And how do you feel as a non-Knicks fan about their offseason so far?
Um, I think I put that out there on Twitter. Like I was really surprised with the moves you guys made. Like I like a lot of them. The only move I'm not really a fan of is the Elfrid Payton move. I feel like it puts those new guards in a weird position because they're gonna have to try to fit in with Elfrid Payton. I wouldn't imagine you guys signing him. I mean, you guys didn't sign him for a lot of money, but I wouldn't imagine you guys signing him and not playing him. I feel like you guys should go back to experimenting with RJ. So I would give it one more shot. I feel like you guys have nothing to lose. Like you said, Mike, RJ and Frank, they're both like secondary ball handlers, but I feel like they can not really take turns, but they'll know in what situations who's going to bring up the ball offense. I really hope Frank has improved though. That's the big thing. I feel like this is a really big year for Frank. Whether it's time for you guys to get him or not.
No, I agree. I think we saw Frank coming around the corner at the end of the year, and like he I mean, like I know it's year 3, people make jokes, but he became the youngest Knick to score 20 and 10 in a game. Which is like, I mean, it's people like gave up on him really quickly, but I mean, he's coming along at his own pace because of the lack of development, right? The lack of pieces around him, the lack of time they invested into him as a player. So to see that is, I mean, it gives you hope for the future. And I mean, I guess this year is going to be for a lot of the young Knicks, like him, maybe even Kevin Knox. Obviously, DSJ is going to be like all right, you have like kind of this excuse in your back pocket where you didn't have any development staff, and the last people here did not know what they were doing with you. So now that you're in a situation where people know what your skills are, know what you're good at, and we have development staff here to make you better. Like, if you can't do it now, then it's probably like goodbye. I mean, especially for Frank, like Frank's in a contract year, DSJ is in a contract year. Knox can easily be moved, especially with the logjam in the front court if he doesn't show signs. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a very telling year. And I mean, I'm excited. Like, I know that they're going to be bad, but I mean, if they're bad, but the young kids look good, like I'm going to be excited because now I know, maybe Knox is actually an NBA player, or Frank can be a contributor on this team. Like, Mitch is the defensive force that we think he is. RJ can be maybe a number 2 on a really good team. And knowing that, plus knowing that you're going to be in the lottery of a loaded draft, like, I mean, there's no point of going out and getting that Westbrook or getting that Hayward to win enough games to put you at the back end of the lottery, but not enough to even see your way into the playoffs. I think like people hate when the Knicks like tank, but I don't think that's tanking. I think it's just knowing, like, really realistic with your organization, saying that we're not going to win, especially playing 32 games against the Nets, Sixers, Celtics, Raptors. Like, you got to be realistic with yourself and know that, okay, like, we're going to give the young kids a run. Like, if it goes well and something comes of it, then sure. But if not, like, we're going to be in the lottery of a loaded draft, and then hopefully the young pieces are good enough to be assets or to bring somebody else in. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's definitely not like you definitely don't have a lot of time left. Like you said, with Frank being in a contract year, um, which kind of like is what hurt about last season. How a lot of the young guys didn't play, and then reports came out that they had playoff expectations for the team that they put together with Taj Gibson starting.
yeah.
Taj Gibson hasn't been on a playoff team since he's been with the Chicago Bulls. He's not that kind of player. So that definitely hurt last year. So that's kind of like the yin and the yang of how like the new staff is great, but there's not a lot of time left with these players. So I don't think it is tanking if you throw all those young guys out there, because you did, like, that's what a draft is. That's what you get a young player for, especially guys you get in like lottery picks, which the Knicks have had. Like, these guys you need to workshop, you need to let grow, and you drafted them for a reason. So why not let them let them flourish and give them
And
enough time to flourish.
And my last point on the Knicks right now is kind of just also knowing that the Knicks brought in a new front office like this offseason, and it was clear through their actions that they weren't going to do anything to mess up the future before. Like, they even got underway as doing their job. Like, they just came in. They're not going to tie up their books for 3 years getting Russell Westbrook. They're not going to tie up their books for 4 years with Fred VanVleet, even though he's a good player, and that deal would not have been that bad. Like, they're not going to do that. They know that, okay, we have two first round picks next year. We're gonna have 2 max spots. Like, that doesn't mean anyone's coming, but having that flexibility, like, if you have all those assets, all of a sudden, like, I know people don't want to think that way because it just happened, but all of a sudden, like, if Obi Toppin comes in and he's looking like he's second in Rookie of the Year voting in like the Vegas projections, like, all of a sudden he has a good year. Like, that's not only is he a good player, but that's also immediately a trade asset. So knowing that you have those 2 max spots next summer and 2 draft picks, like, you can also go into it with the hindsight of like, oh, if we can get one guy to come here, if our young players can look good enough to get one guy to come here, we have all these assets, these young players who hopefully play good this year, along with other future draft capital, to say like, okay, like, oh, we got free agent X wants to come here. All right, so we can move this, and this, and assets, and still have more left over and go get us another player. Like, there's so many options, and I think that that's why this year is so important, because it's not only for evaluating what you have in your team for the future, but it's also knowing that, oh, maybe like DSJ can be can get you back a second round pick, or maybe Knox has shown enough flashes to say like, oh, like, he can actually be a valuable trade chip in a big trade. Like, that is what more of this offseason comes about. And I'm just excited to see how it all turns out.
But yeah, I definitely want to see them play, and I definitely think we're in a great spot right now for the future. Speaking of teams in great spots for the future, Mike's team and my team on
And
the
Obi's.
football end. Oh, wait, Mike and
Well,
Obi's team.
kind of. We
Mike
don't
and
know.
we don't know this week. Mike and Obi's team and my team on the football side. We started off similarly. We started off both losing, both trying to fight for the top 2 quarterbacks. Seems my team could care less about the quarterbacks, and Mike's team only cares about the quarterbacks. And as of currently right now, the New York Football Giants are the leaders of the NFC lease. We did it. We beat the thank you. We beat the Joe Burrowless Cincinnati Bengals
Barely.
and barely beat them. We barely beat them. Gaining that number one spot, but also losing Daniel Jones to a hamstring injury for a timetable that's uncertain right now. So it's kind of, it's nice to be in first place, even though all the other teams are trash. However, being without our quarterback and having Colt McCoy starting for maybe the next week against the Seattle Seahawks, who are currently playing another NFC East team right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, it's kind of scary for whatever we were projecting and however we were trying to win.
I mean, It's really interesting because you talked about like at the beginning with like the whole sports world being in like limbo, and that's kind of where the Giants sit right now themselves too. Because I saw something on Twitter that winning that game put them from 6th in the draft to 19th,
Yeah,
and it's
so
just
there's no
like,
point.
and it's just like okay, like I get it. Like the whole idea of sports is to win, right? And like especially in a division that bad, like your goal should be to win. And if you get into the playoffs, like whatever happens, happens. And I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you can look at it like you started 0-5, but since then you're 4-2, and all of a sudden like the coach you brought in looks like he has turned this program around. Like it looks like there's some consistency there. Daniel Jones, before he got hurt, was on like the longest no turnover streak of his career. It wasn't that long, but I mean maybe
Can't possibly have been that long.
but I mean like it's like also that their schedule coming up the next couple of weeks is like brutal. It's just like all playoff teams the rest of the season. So it's kind of like, yeah, like they're there now, but will they stay there? And I mean, I don't know. How do you feel, Zay, about like balancing between like I know you want to win, and I would if I was in the same position, I'd want to win too. But knowing that like all of a sudden that can be taken away from you, and now you have a bad draft pick that like not as good of a draft pick as well. Like how do you balance that in your mind?
Well, the draft coming up was supposed to be, quarterback heavy with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields going at the top. So I think that obviously the Giants have put to mind that Daniel Jones is the future and that they want to continue working with Daniel Jones. So from the beginning of the season till now, that was in talks, but now it's solidified that we believe in Daniel Jones and we want Daniel Jones. Um, I'm fine with the winning because I believe in just Joe Judge and the culture push that he has on the Giants. So that's fine because I think the defense has come along very well this season, as opposed to the offense with Daniel Jones at the helm. But I think I, I have nothing against trying to win, just trying to win every game possible because we are missing Saquon Barkley. Wayne Gallman has stepped up big for the Giants, but we are missing Saquon Barkley, who at his best is the best running back in the league, and at his worst is top 5 running back in the league. So obviously, with a big player like that a defense has to worry about, it opens up other things for like guys like Sterling Shepard, talented guys like Evan Ingram, to step up and play big, giving Daniel Jones more room to not turn the ball over. And so just continuing to work on that is completely fine with me. I don't think this draft is that big for us. I think maybe working on the line in the draft is probably going to be the way to go, to give him more time. Yeah, we're going to still need to do that and probably more because Andrew Thomas sucks. If Mekhi Becton wants to leave and go to the other team, like Brandon Marshall did, he can come on over. But yeah, I'm completely fine with trying to win these games, probably going to lose these games, unless COVID keeps Lamar Jackson out for another week. But other than that, I think I like where the Giants are, and I think I like what the Giants have been doing so far.
I mean, I saw Obi's Cowboys get beat down on Thanksgiving.
Who's a Cowboys fan here?
Oh, nah, played dumb. Don't worry, we'll put the Cowboy receipts in the description of the video. So if you want to catch Obi lacking, you can click down below. But all jokes aside, our Jets, Obi,
the biggest joke.
How are we feeling about our Jets? I mean, I know Obi finally admitted to me that Denzel Mims is good at football, so that was nice to hear. And I mean, the way he's been playing gave me a lot of hope. Sam Darnold, on the other hand, not so much. But I mean, I was making jokes about Daniel Jones at the beginning of the season, but Sam Darnold has thrown 3 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in the games that he's played this year, and like just a little bit over 1,000 yards, which scares me. And then like Obi were talking about Denzel Mims yesterday, and we were just kind of like, like building the chemistry with Sam Darnold, and now it's kind of just like, I mean, that chemistry is a waste for the next 6 games because the way he's playing, there's no shot they don't take Trevor Lawrence on draft night. But Obi, what are your thoughts on the Jets and I mean their obvious path, I guess, at this point to Trevor Lawrence?
Man, it's all eyes on Lawrence at this point, but I was really skeptical about Denzel Mims, but he really showed out last game. I was telling Mike I'm not so sure about taking him. I ain't think he had it in him, but he's a dog. Even with Darnold playing so kind of not up to his expectations, Mem's still showing up.
Perriman too. You guys have good receivers on that team, just not the guy. That's not the right guy throwing them.
And it's sad though. It's sad that it's gotten to that point because like that going to that draft, like he was until like the world, like Cleveland shocked the world and took Baker. Like he was the number one guy for months. Like and it wasn't even close. And like it's just like I get like obviously there has to be some responsibility on him, but there like to make it seem like Adam Gase has done him any favors, and like it just like all around the league and skill position players, even quarterbacks. Like look at Tannehill that have played under Adam Gase have just taken off as soon as he's gone, and it's just like they've done him no favors at all. Like he's had no weapons. I mean, and then the one weapon that he does have and has chemistry with goes to Carolina and is on the brink of his first 1,000-yard season in the NFL with Robbie Anderson. So, I mean, it's just frustrating to really see that. And like you've heard me on this podcast for months, like bang the drum and fight for Sam Darnold and argue for Sam Darnold and stand up for him. But it's like he has to show Joe Douglas and this organization that that passing on Trevor Lawrence, who according to Pro Football Focus is the only quarterback in 3 straight seasons to rate over 90 like consecutively, that he is a better option long term than that guy. And I don't like, as much as I love Sam Darnold, I just think that whatever has happened in New York, it's not happening anymore. So at this point, you just take your L, I guess. You bring in a new coach. Hopefully,
hopefully bring in a new coach.
I guess their plan is to tank the whole season with him, and then they get rid of him. I mean, that'd be the genius play because I think if as soon as they fire him, they get significantly better. So if they just let them lose all the games, and then I don't know. I mean, but you think of the options. Like they have the first-round pick next year, the extra first-round pick next year from the Jamal Adams trade, right? So you have 2 first-round picks. You'll have Trevor Lawrence, hopefully, a new coach, like a roster, and I think the most cap space in the NFL. And like we've seen in the NFL that you can turn a team around quickly, like especially because it's all to do with schedule and like free agency is a big thing in the NFL. So all of a sudden, if you're going into the new season with an offensive coach who knows what he's actually doing, supposed to be the one of the best quarterback prospects we've ever seen coming out of a draft, and cap space. I mean, if Joe Douglas is as good as a GM as a lot of Jets fans think he is, then this team can turn these things around quickly. It's just how they play the cards that they have right now.
I mean, I think they're definitely set up to do good things. It's just like being a Knicks fan, you understand that the management can ruin that if they're incompetent. Joe Douglas has made good moves so far, though. So I don't care to trust in him because I I hope the worst for the Jets. However, I mean, I think for your sake, I guess, which I also don't care about, but for your sake, I hope that there is some confidence. I think Trevor Lawrence, being one of those prospects, can definitely turn a franchise around for the better. I think you have a Denzel Mims with him right now, Chris Herndon, who isn't what he was supposed to be, but maybe can still be what he's supposed to be. And if he just stands right behind Mekhi Becton, I think you'll be pretty good.
I mean, like if you look at Mekhi Becton and Mekhi Becton, Quinnen Williams, Denzel Mims, and Marcus May. Everything else can go. Like after that, everything else can really go.
Ashton Davis.
Quinnen Williams is performing like a top 5 D tackle in the NFL in terms of like statistically production, like pressures, sacks, tackles for loss, all of it. Mekhi Becton is leading the AFC in Pro Bowl votes at left tackle. I mean, they drafted a pretty good punter, so he's leading the Pro Bowl votes too. So I don't even because he's punting the ball 400 times a game because Adam Gase runs it with Frank Gore on 3rd and 7. But I guess we're just gonna put our faith in the draft picks and cap space thing. So it does sound a lot like being a Knicks fan. So
his balance also sucks.
Who?
Frank Gore's balance also sucks.
Yeah, but he will never get less than 3 yards in a run. He'll always fall for 3 yards, and that's how you end up third all time in rushing yards.
It'll be crazy because he'll be like he'll have way more yardage to go. If he's ever running up the sideline, I guarantee you he's falling out. He's falling out.
He just dives forward and grabs the yards he can.
That's all he can do.
But yeah, now talking about these mediocre teams in New York are making me very sad. So let's get into some award stuff. So talk about the good things happening in sports.
That no New York players will win.
Right.
Not a single person who has ever been in New York will win an award.
See, Josh Allen was up there for a minute, and then he remembered he's playing in New York and fumbled the bag. So we're gonna go through. We're just gonna go through our midseason predictions so far for like the major awards. So what are we doing? We're doing MVP,
Right.
Coach of the Year. Are we doing Coach of the Year?
Yeah.
Right. Defensive Player of the Year.
Offensive player of the year.
Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Oh, and Comeback Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of awards to go through. And I mean, it's interesting because like a lot of the people who were at the top of these lists early in the season kind of fell off. All at once, really. And then obviously the whole COVID thing throws everything off. We've seen a lot of injuries this year because of like the condensed training camp, like the no preseason. So all these have a massive impact on the awards and how they turn out. But you guys we get to start at the top with the biggest award that there is, because I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page on this one. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, there's got to be a consensus on Patrick Mahomes for MVP.
There's nothing really else to say. Realistically, this is going to be the MVP for the next 5 years. 10 years wouldn't even be a stretch either. He keeps getting better. He even said it himself, he's still learning to read NFL defenses, which if I heard that, I kind of just put my clipboard down and go home.
I'm saying I'm giving up.
Coach college.
But I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the things that he does, the way that offense is built with Eric Bieniemy, the weapons that they have, and the way he uses them perfectly. And he just doesn't really make mistakes. Like even in last night's game, the only mistake he really made was he missed McCole Hardman on a vertical for a touchdown. But besides that, I mean, besides a pick here and there, he does everything. Like you even saw him showing off his legs on a read option and caught the entire like right side of a defense.
He's 30. He's 30 for 2 interceptions. Or 31. Something
like that. Something that looks like
only 2 picks.
Looks like you're playing my career in Madden. Just ridiculous. So I guess that's our consensus number 1. And I mean, if you guys have to pick a number 2 right now, since I guess he's making it a consolation prize, who would your number 2 be in this hypothetical?
Aaron Rodgers. I don't think anybody else but Aaron Rodgers. I would assume.
No, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is also consensus number 2 because he only has 4 picks on the season.
Yeah,
and I mean those 2 guys. That's who we talk. I mean, obviously Patrick Mahomes. Besides that one game in New England, basically owns Tom Brady, and like it's especially now in the Bucs. Like, there's no question about it. He's just the new age, and Tom Brady is out of here. There's no chance he beats a team and an offense that explosive. But with arm talents, we've never seen a guy like Patrick Mahomes before, other than Aaron Rodgers, who, like Stephen A. Smith says, is a bad man. So we only got those 2 guys really in competition. And I don't know. I mean, the whole thing about Aaron Rodgers is that he doesn't have weapons. And they tried to make a trade before the deadline and didn't even get anything done. Drafted a quarterback, didn't draft any receivers. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it is a good thing they didn't make that trade. It is a good thing they didn't make that trade. Somebody could have warned him not to take that medication. But that's like, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is so dominant in today's game, it is scary. Because you talk about a guy like Trevor Lawrence coming out of like college, but I can't imagine a quarterback for the rest of NFL history, or NFL future, being like Patrick Mahomes. This good, this quick is insane.
Yeah, I don't get how a player this good came out this like underrated in a draft. Where like how does Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson both fall past a team who needs a quarterback in the top 5 in that draft? Like, but like they're like in Chicago. Shout out Shout out Farouk, man. But just like how do you go from how do you have to draft somebody second in the draft and you're trying to figure out if you should start him or journeyman Nick Foles. Like it can't cut when you're drafting that high and you're taking a quarterback. It can't come down to that. So,
true. That is also true. Especially with Deshaun Watson, out of Clemson. But I don't know. I mean, you have to fire some people if you miss out on that. Some people definitely need to be fired. Which also leads into offensive player of the year, which if the MVP is a quarterback, is going to have to be the same guy.
Yeah, we might as well anything offensive might as well skip because it's Patrick.
It wasn't Patrick Mahomes. I'm not gonna lie. I think we gotta give some credit to King Henry.
Yeah, no.
Don't get enough love, man.
I think Alvin Kamara should be in that conversation too. Just carrying the load on both, like just rushing and passing. Better receiver than Michael Thomas in Obi's opinion, probably, and one of the best running backs in the league. Like, Drew Brees goes down. Taysom Hill is obviously like unlike anything we've ever seen, like the one Swiss Army knife in the NFL. But that team doesn't go without Kamara making big plays, making big catches, just like doing everything they need to do on the offensive end.
It's not for Kamara. Michael Thomas gets exposed.
He can't run them slants.
But I mean, now if we move over to defense, an award that Patrick Mahomes, luckily for the NFL, cannot win. I mean, I think it gets a little bit more interesting. I mean, me personally, I'm looking at two people on the defensive line for mine. If that's any.
Me too. I wonder if we got the same people.
If that's any indication. So I'm gonna let Obi go first because like Kieran says, we don't do groupthink. So whatever he says, I'll say the other one I was thinking about.
One of them, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, it is. One of them is Myles Garrett. The other one is
playing the Jets division.
No, it does not.
No.
So mine. All right. If you're gonna say Myles Garrett, I'm gonna go with Aaron Donald then.
Oh. The best player in the league.
Yeah, basically. I mean, 10 sacks, 20 tackles, 4 tackles for 4 forced fumbles. I mean, has to be double teams every single game. We saw him yesterday against the 49ers just completely blow up a play and change a game by himself with that big strip. So, in my opinion, I mean, he's the most dominant player in the NFL at any position, arguably. Like, have to focus all your attention, game planning on Aaron Donald. Otherwise, your offense can't really function. So for me, it's Aaron Donald, and that's probably not a shocker.
No, it shouldn't be a shocker. I think Aaron Donald should be not Darnold, Fluff Darnold, but Aaron Donald should be. I mean, he's got to be like an MVP contention every year if you like really boil it down and just look at to like who is the most impactful player on any team. But I have neither of those guys. I like Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald, obviously, but just for the sake of not giving the same guy the award every year. I like TJ Watt, and I just like the Steelers' defense. He looks great in the Steelers' defense, obviously, at a linebacker, but working together with, like, Cam Hayward on the line and then Minka in the secondary is just like that defense as a whole. If you could give an entire defense an award, they'd have to win that award because they that's the Pittsburgh Steelers like brand is like defense first and then the offense will come. But like their defense every year is just lights out, and Tomlin does a great job with that group.
Yeah. Well, I like that TJ Watt was in my top 3, but I just kind of wanted to be different and I had a team that paid a lot of money on their defense, but I don't think they paid a lot of. They rated him from Kansas City, Emmanuel Ogba. He's having like a great year right now. I think he's averaging a sack a game right now. He's at 9 sacks right now. A real game changer for the Dolphins. He gets a lot of quarterback pressures. That Dolphins defense wins a lot of games for them. So I just wanted to give some love to Emmanuel Ogba.
I like that one. That was under the radar because As you guys know from the Shoeless podcast, we don't do groupthink. So, so I guess while we're talking about defensive players, we can go to defensive rookie of the year, and I think that we're all on the same page on this one again. And if you're drafting a pass rusher, number one or number two, he better be. Number two, he better be in that conversation. Otherwise, you messed up. So
wait a minute, we don't group think here. I got somebody else.
How could I forget the rules of the podcast?
that you just said. I'm going to have to group think on that one and go Chase Young. I just think he's way too dominant on a Washington football team's front line. That's just way too, they're just way too good. And him being the leader and the biggest playmaker on that line is he just stands out. Hit on Joe Burrow. He makes big plays for a team, and they're only second in the division in the NFC East right now, which doesn't say a lot because they've only won 4 games. But we, however, have beat the football team, and so we win the tiebreaker.
So I agree with Isaiah with Chase Young. So we can just skip to Obi because I want to see what name he said to be different.
Having a roommate that grew up in Atlanta, in that Atlanta DMV area. This year I had to watch a lot of Carolina Panther games. So shout out Jeremy Chin for my defensive player of the year. Not only does he get it rocking on defense, bro, you guys gotta watch, on special teams, bro, he's on the field. If it's not offense, he's on the field all the time, bro. Special teams, defense, punt return, kickoff. Bro, he is on that ball ASAP. And he had a great game last game, but I wish there was a play they ran 3 weeks ago, and they purposely took a penalty on they were putting the ball and it was 4th and 2, and they purposely took a penalty thinking they just messed up the communication or whatever. So now it's 4th and 7, and they fake punted it, and Jeremy Chin, I think he recorded a 4-3 or 2 somewhere around there. Just gone. Nobody was catching him. I just wanted to get some of Jeremy Chin. Nice.
I remember Obi shouting him out before because I spent Obi in Madden and he kept saying, "Who is this Chin individual?" So I've been a shout out of. I see Obi's had his eye on this guy for a while as a prospect.
In the last game, he scored on 2 back-to-back possessions.
Yeah, it's within 60 seconds.
Which has never been done before.
On my defense in fantasy. Oh, yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike, if you're listening, you're making a lot of jokes, but Tyreek Hill's 44. Shut that down, bro.
Gutierrez.
So I know you're listening.
Guy lucked out on the first quarter.
Shout out my neighbor Mike.
So now we can go to offensive rookie of the year. And I guess that one was kind of trending in the direction that we kind of expected, and then not so much. And Isaiah's football team got very lucky. It happened the week that it did because they would have won by 2 without Joe Burrow. So if he played, it could have been a scary ball game. But yeah, so with Joe Burrow hurt now, I guess it kind of takes him out of the race for offensive rookie of the year. And we kind of saw this a few years ago when Wentz was on track to win MVP and then got hurt just before the playoffs too. And obviously, missing 3 starts as a quarterback completely throws off your stats. So I guess now I guess it falls into the hands of Justin Herbert, who, came in because of an odd medical incident out there in Los Angeles.
That man was fired.
Had to be.
Luckily he was fired and not taken out in a cop car. But I guess Jordan Herbert. Shout out Jordan Herbert.
Shout out Jordan Herbert.
Gambling with Vegas.
Wait, can we also shout out that Mike said that the doctor's name was Conrad Murray 215?
Oh yeah, you said it. Yo, I was on my way to school when you did that. You're foul. You were so foul. You didn't even need to say the name.
Oh, man. That was funny.
The real listeners of the podcast remember that Michael Jackson reference. I
did.
If it went over your head, Well, you ain't. I can't say it, but I'll leave it alone. I think Justin
Joe
Herbert has,
Biden. Go ahead.
other than the God. I think no. I think Justin Herbert has to be the pick for offensive rookie of the year. I mean, he stepped in, and though they can't finish games, I mean, they've been competitive. Him and Michael Thomas. I mean, not Michael
Keenan
Thomas.
Allen.
Mike
Keenan
Williams.
Allen.
Yeah, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have formed a rapport. So
You said Mike Williams before Keenan Allen?
I don't know what he's thinking.
I mean, they throw the ball to him like he's the best player I've ever seen. So
And Hunter Henry too.
not Joshua Kelly, because you can stay on the bench of my fantasy team. So
But yeah, I started Justin Herbert on my fantasy team, and he's won me a couple of weeks. So I'm also going to have to give that award to him too. I think awards like that are definitely heavily leaned towards quarterbacks, and quarterbacks have to get those awards because of the amount of numbers that they can put up over other offensive players. Like they have the football in their hands more than anyone else. So obviously they're going to have to make plays. Do you agree?
Yeah, we're only agreeing. Yeah.
I think another name that has to be out there is, if you want to talk other rookies, Justin Jefferson is killing it.
Sir.
And Chase Claypool is a big name receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers too. And those two rookies, yeah.
Both of which are on my fantasy team. So, and I still can't. I mean, I'm still 3-7. So, I mean, well, thanks to Mike, I'll be 4-7. So that's nice.
Thanks to Tyreek Hill.
Well, that too, and whatever this chin guy is, whoever he is, points to. So, what award do you want to jump to next? Because
let's do Coach of the Year.
All right.
Adam
So for
Gase.
Coach of the Year, well, I mean, he's got to be if they get Trevor Lawrence, but. If they don't, I'm gonna go with Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland. I mean, they're 8-3, and they're in a position that Cleveland sports has not seen in since obviously outside of the LeBron James, great touch of basketball. I mean, they're 8-3 with progressive commercial stars, their quarterback, and the injured Odell Beckham. So I mean, Obi's in shock, so I don't know who he picked, but
I think he stole his.
No.
I mean, I just think everyone else who is at the top of their division or near a playoff spot is was expected to be there. Like you could go Vrabel, but after what they did in the playoffs last year, it was like this was supposed to be like the year where they made that next step because they were the Cinderella and now they're here. And I mean, I guess unless you're thinking Brian Flores, which then I can definitely see that one as well. But this guy's in. I don't know.
His jaw keeps dropping.
Now speak. Wow. Coach of the Year is Mike Tomlin. Oh my goodness. It's not even close. It's not even close.
It can't be. It can't be.
Why not?
This guy, bro.
Listen, man. If Mike Tomlin don't win Coach of the Year, oh my goodness, bro.
No, yeah, that would be a robbery for sure. An undefeated team that if they play the Ravens, they're going to be 11-0 at least. So to win 11 games in a season compared to what you did last year, is ridiculous for him not to get the award. But he's also not my choice though. Because I just tried to put myself in the mind of a voter, and so I realized that he was black. I got him out of there. I wasn't counting him. I think Matt LaFleur should win Coach of the Year. I think the Packers are going to make a deep playoff push this year. I think Adam Lazard is pretty good. I think he's a budding receiver, and he was out for that time. And I think the Packers did lose games while he was out. But I think with him, Devontae Adams, who I think is the best receiver in the league right now, I think Aaron and the defense too. I think Matt LaFleur coming into last year, not really Aaron Rodgers known for butting heads with guys and them not really getting along until this year, them putting their differences aside and then trying to get together and building that rapport for them to win games for the betterment of the team. So I think Matt LaFleur being the bigger person, and lowering himself to realize that, listen, Aaron Rodgers is the star of this team, and regardless of like my ideas for this team and like the play calling, Aaron Rodgers has been doing it at a high level more than I have. So not riding his coattails, but like, working in harmony with him.
But it's also like we see what's happening with McCarthy and Obi's Dallas Cowboys, and like he's out here smashing watermelons. Like, what is this guy? That's the guy you want running. That's literally what he did. So I don't know. You can
He
make a
did.
fake, but so huh?
Obi Toppin, he said. You're the Obi who likes the Cowboys. Let's stop it right now. There's no other Obi in your room. I don't even think you know another Obi.
I do.
I'm looking around.
I do. Shout out Nambi. His name is Obi.
All right. You got me there.
So he has one. But I mean, like, all seriousness, like, you look at what happened with McCarthy in Dallas, and like they talk about people don't trust him in the locker room, and like the mediocrity that's been there, and it's kind of like, oh, if Rodgers was taking this to the playoffs every year with like a lack of offensive creativity and stuff like that, then maybe a lot of the blame that was being put on Rodgers not winning and saying about, oh, it's about his ego. Like, now that he has like a coach who can challenge him mentally on the field, which is like, I think like it's the thing that you hear about a lot of great quarterbacks, is that like they want to be challenged in terms of like, oh, like, why does this play work? Like, why are we running this against this defense? Like, why are we audibling to this? Like, having that like intelligence battle with the coach is like a big thing for these like elite quarterbacks. So I think having a coach who has an offensive system as refined as this, and with such creativity, it gives Rodgers like a breath of fresh air, with especially what he's experienced in the past, with one, a lack of weapons, but a lack of offensive creativity and play calling. But so what award do we think should we go to next? Because
the comeback is the last one, right?
Is it the last one?
Yeah, we did everything else, I think.
All right, so you guys can go first, because I'm not gonna lie, I have no names. So whatever you guys say, I'm just gonna agree.
I think there's only one name to throw there, and I think that name has to be Ben Roethlisberger. I think he did, because he didn't play last year, and that team still almost made the playoffs. Like, him coming, obviously Tomlin is a great coach who has done it for a lot of time and did it with the team playing with Duck Hodges last year. And Myles Garrett slammed the helmet on what's that kid's name?
Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph, yeah. Slammed his helmet on him. But yeah, I think Ben Roethlisberger just shows that if you put a good quarterback in that team, a quarterback with an arm, a smart quarterback who's been doing it for a while, like on that team, they're undefeated so far. And they have gotten some breaks. They have had an easy schedule as well. But there are other teams who aren't undefeated. Like, being undefeated, I don't think we should discredit that just because of how maybe easy the schedule has been for them.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Ben Roethlisberger. That was actually who I picked to be my winner, but we don't group him.
All right.
But if I had to give like a second place to anybody, it'd probably be Alex Smith. His journey was really good. Going through that gruesome injury and then all that time to recover, he was probably thinking about quitting football at least at some point.
I think he should have. Not that he's bad, but I just would have never stepped on a field after that happened. That's too scary for me.
That's what I'm saying. That is a scary. Even step back on that field, you gotta give him a lot of credit for that. So
for sure.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we're not gonna go groupthink here. So let me get creative. I don't think, I try not to be biased on this podcast, but I'm going to be right now. I'm going to talk about a player I've talked about a little bit earlier, and one of the only bright spots on the New York Jets football team, Quinnen Williams.
Oh, all right.
Last year, this man was invisible on the field. I mean, people are talking about, oh, the Jets got the best.
How many games did Quinnen Williams play last year?
He wasn't hurt.
Yeah, but you don't have to be hurt to come back. You just got to not be good.
No.
I think you have to be hurt, but I think
that's not the rule.
You think that's a most improved award?
Yeah.
No, it's not. You have to be hurt. It's not a most improved. And Roethlisberger only played 2 games. Alex Smith didn't play at all. Adrian Peterson tore his ACL. Peyton Manning broke his neck.
I get it though. You can shout out Quentin Williams just because the Jets really get no love.
I mean, in that case, I'll just go with Ben Roethlisberger. Let's keep it simple. But shout out Quentin Williams, got his braces off and he's turning up, so I'm happy for him.
Shoot, bless you. Nah, yeah, for sure. But that's it, right? We don't have any more.
And that's another.
That's it. Like I said, we're stuck in limbo. We're stuck here at a crossroads in sports. But next week's episode, I mean, we got bangers to pump out. Like, we got the NBA approaching. The NFL is still in. Like, there's going to be big things happening very soon.
And we're excited to talk to you about all of it. I mean, the NBA is coming back. So, obviously, the Shoeless Joes have to drop an NBA season preview, including a 40-minute segment on just the Knicks and then 10 minutes for teams.
I think we did our Knicks already.
Yeah, that's enough Knicks for until next draft. So we're excited to bring that to you guys next week. Obviously, we didn't do this in the beginning, so hopefully you guys made it to this point. But you guys got to follow the YouTube channel. Obviously, if you're watching us, then you're already doing that and you're already here. But if not, I mean, send that link out to everybody you know who loves sports, because I promise they'll enjoy this content. Subscribe, like, turn the bell on. I mean,
comment.
25 likes, you get to see Mike play basketball in the next video.
That'd be it.
25 likes.
I don't want to hurt anyone's confidence, so we'll make that 50 likes. But besides that, on Instagram and Twitter at Shoeless Joe's Pod, go follow that. We'll just be tweeting out fun stuff, trying to interact with y'all, just giving us our thoughts between episodes. We said we are going to get into doing those little short videos, but as you guys know, no big stories have really came out that we could have done that for yet. So hopefully with the new season, NBA season approaching, there's more opportunity for that. But yeah, we can go follow those, subscribe while you're here. And then just tell us what you want to hear or what you think, what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with, all of it. We just want to interact with you guys and just keep building this community. So we think
the bell. I think the bell will be over there, but hit the bell.
in the middle of the screen.
Hit the bell, or I'm going to slap you.
And you don't want that. Nah, yeah, just follow all the accounts. Let's just we want to build a community. We want to cater to you guys on these episodes. Give us things to talk about. When we get stuck like this, give us topics you guys want to hear, things you want to. We really will debate anything, unless it's hockey. But we still love your hockey guys. We just don't have any news for you, and don't care about your sport.
And if you like hockey and you stuck around this far, well, I like your dedication, but don't get your hopes.
Next episode, don't expect any NHL.
When does their season even start? It doesn't matter.
I don't think they're having a season, honestly.
Yes.
But anyways, thanks for listening to the Shoeless Joes podcast, and we will catch you next time.
Super duper double.